So, on this edition of Bedtime Comics with a Redneck, we will be reviewing this week's release of Alien vs. Captain America. That's a nice little cover. It was the only cover they had left. I was late picking comics up this time. So, we start off with a little introduction talking about how this takes place in World War II and Baron Strucker is working for the Red Skull and he's in search of something to bring down the Allies. And we open up with Captain America and Bucky fighting off some Hydra soldiers, and they're trying to interrogate him to figure out what Red Skull and Baron Strucker's up to. And of course, they end up killing themselves before they get any answers out of them. And it picks up with Baron Strucker. He's got a team in the Himalayas. He goes in looking for a guide, and nobody wants to guide him to the city of Adelan. So he goes in there, he kills a guy in there, threatens to kill another woman before somebody finally volunteers to be the guide. And the guide tells him, nobody wants to bring you here because this is where the god resides, and everybody's fearful to bring you to to bring the wrath of the gods down. So he's like, I don't mind leading you here as long as I'm rewarded for it. And there's all these markings on the wall of the ancient Inhumans, which I'm assuming the royal family, they refer to them as the royal family, so I'm assuming it's Black Bolt and Medusa and all them. But they said that they disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to them. So you get deeper into it. Once they found a way to get into the city, they killed the guide, and as the guide's dying, he kind of laughs at him and says, "You were here to see gods, but I took you to see demons instead." So they get in and they see these more uh, carvings on the wall, and it says that the Inhumans were killed off by a plague of creatures that came from space, and they've got carvings of the aliens, the xenomorphs. So Baron Strucker still wants to go in because he's saying that, when they're dead, there ought to still be riches and weaponry left. So they go inside the city and they find the Inhumans' dead bodies, and all of them has their chest burst open. And the guy, one of these main guys with Baron Strucker, is telling him, well, the Inhumans had a tradition of they like to be buried with what killed them. So you have all these alien eggs down in these burial pits, and the eggs start awakening. And they start attacking Baron Strucker's men. They manage to kill off or grab a whole bunch of them. Baron Strucker grabs a face hugger and electrifies it, and there's only a handful of them that manages to escape. But Baron Strucker has took one alive to bring back to the Red Skull. A few weeks later, Hydra is taking prisoners of war in these chambers and getting them infected by the face huggers. Because now Red Skull has a alien queen at his disposal that's creating all these alien eggs to infect everything. His master plan is he's going to create an army of these aliens and unleash them on the world. So, of course, during World War II, you have the Howling Commandos are involved. There's Dum Dum Dugan. Uh, you have Nick Fury leading them. They're going to find one of their lost soldiers that got took by Hydra. They enter into a city and find the whole city has been killed. All their chests have been burst open. For us, we know that there is now a massive army of aliens loose out there, but they don't know what's going on. So they find a woman who has not yet died yet, and she's telling them all about these big black bugs that come in, that they're breeding them out basically. And a face hugger burst out of her, and that's when Captain America's comes in as Nick Fury's fumbling with his gun, and his shield cuts the alien in half, the face hugger. And you've got Nick Fury, of course, Nick Fury's Nick Fury. He's basically telling Captain America, hey, nobody really needed you here. Nobody asked you to be here. And Cap's kind of like, well, he said, the way you were fiddling around with your gun, I needed to be here for that. And he said, the second part is we may have a genuine war of the worlds on our hands. So Uncle Sam says, I need to be here. So him and Bucky are here now. So that's how issue 1 ends. There's the cover to issue 2. So now for what I think about it, I will admit when I watched a couple of earlier reviews earlier in the week about it, they stated the obvious that you don't really have Captain America and the aliens facing off in issue 1. So I was a little scared it was going to be slow, but surprisingly, this was a very, very solid read. I'm very, very glad I picked it up. Uh, issue 2 has got me very excited to see the aliens and Cap finally fight. I feel like issue 1 did a very, very good job of setting up the threat of the aliens. Uh, it's not a single alien. They are going to be taking on multiple aliens. So if you like stuff like Colonial Marines taking on the aliens and Aliens, Part 2, then you will like this, because this is basically the Howling Commandos and Captain America and Bucky versus groups and groups of aliens. It was not a boring read. It did not have a lot of places that I felt like slowed down. I feel like it kept the pace. The art, I feel like could have been just a touch better, but the art was by no means bad. Uh, Frank Tier or Tier, or I'm terrible with names. But this guy is a great writer. He used to write Wolverine for a while. Uh, and he seems to be doing a good job with this. I'm very excited for issue 2. Issue 1 kept the plot moving nice. It made the threat of the aliens feel real. Cap was used very sparingly in the first issue, but it looks like he's back in the story. And even though he's not in the story the whole time, he didn't need to be. They laid down the groundwork, the ground story, so now we can get Captain America through it all. This issue 1 is already miles above what they had done with stuff like Spider-Man versus Predator. That was a big disappointment. So looking forward to the next issue. If you have not picked this up, go pick it up. If I had to rate it on a 1 out of 10, that issue 1 is definitely a 9. The only reason I don't give it a 10 is the art wasn't bad, but I feel like it wasn't as clean as it needed to be. I would have liked it to be just a little more realistic look to it. It looked just a slight bit too abstract for me. And if that's your thing, then that's fine. Like the art's good for what it is. I mean, I'm not dissing it. Like I'm happy with it, but that's why I didn't get a 10. So do yourself a favor, pick this up.